Senator Adam Bodnar, former Human Rights Ombudsman, former Minister of Justice, thank you for joining us. You've often said that defending democracy isn't just about the institutions and the laws, it's about how we talk to people. The populist method is simple, their message is simple, even simplistic, it's emotional. So why has the democratic side struggled to tell its story as powerfully as the populists?
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. In my opinion, the major question is not whether we have language or whether we know how to talk to people, but rather whether we do our homework, which means whether we are using existing possibilities, techniques in order to talk to people about democratic values. My feeling is that sometimes we take it for granted. We think that people understand the democracy in the same way as we do, that basically people are attached to operation of different state institutions. But even the Polish example of illiberal period, when judicial independence was under the threat, shows that response required not only legal response, but also educating people why courts matter, why they are important to people's lives. So my feeling is that basically we should think about education, role of the civil society, and we should, as well as presence of discussion on democratic principles at the local level.
I agree with all of those points, but what you mentioned, civic education, working with youth, these are long-term perspectives, and we face imminent danger from populists. We've just seen the elections in the Czech Republic, the resurgence of populism very close to our borders. Is there still a case to making the language of democracy simpler? Are we over-intellectualizing on our side, on the democratic side, the way we speak to people?
Okay, but let me ask the question, okay. If we look into Polish politicians, for example, or Polish civil servants, judges, prosecutors, do we, for example, use social media in order to explain to people what are the values of democracy, how those institutions operate, what is their value in the society? My feeling is that, of course, there are some people that do this, but do we do it on a massive scale, or we just take it for granted that somehow people learn that, get this knowledge from some other sources? My feeling is that we are not using those possibilities that exist here, that are just on the ground. You know, let us try. Are there any, I don't know, governmental programs promoting the value of judicial independence? Why courts are important to public life? Are there programs promoting the value of the Constitution, or what is the referendum and how the legislative process works like? In my opinion, we should start from basics and explaining those basics using all different possibilities, almost at the level of the propaganda to all different societal groups. Moreover, sometimes I have a feeling that even if there are some good laws passed by the parliament, there's almost nobody explaining to the people why those laws were adopted.
And this is something that's very important, because you started talking about how we deliver the message. We deliver the message by social media, but the message still, coming back to the message, when you were the Human Rights Ombudsman, you had a fantastic campaign. You made the Constitution understandable to citizens. The communication that was coming from your office had been heavy legal texts. You must have many examples, but there's one I remember very well. There was a pensioner, a lady who was fined the equivalent of almost her annual pension for sitting on a park bench during the pandemic with her dog. And you intervened. And of course, the legal basis was a lack of proportionality. To the average citizen, proportionality is quite an abstract concept. But you managed to explain it very simply. This is a humble person who has been wronged by a system, and this is something that we cannot permit. Do you think that the lessons that you actually taught us as the Human Rights Ombudsman could be used in the language of democracy now?
In my opinion, yes. And moreover, we have some interesting successes where we are doing like a proper work for citizens, but somehow we are not taking enough of effort in order to explain to the people. Just look at the deregulation, okay? What people know about deregulation? Government says, we have adopted more or less 100 different laws concerning limiting some obligations for entrepreneurs. Okay, but adoption of 100 laws seems to be quite abstract to everybody, okay? Because if you are not able...
Who's going to read
exactly,
this
if you are not able to
tome?
explain just one of those laws, how you can explain 100? So my point is that we should take additional energy into kind of finding human stories behind those laws. Like, for example, if the entrepreneur has to pay legal costs in order to bring his case to the court, and we are limiting those costs, then we should present an example of some, small entrepreneur who is running.
I don't know, baker, car mechanic,
exactly,
whatever.
What does it mean for him? Because at the end of the day, what people expect is that democracy is effective. And of course they may feel that democracy is effective when they have some services that are provided for them. If they go to the medical doctor, to the school, if they are using the public transportation, railway, and basically everything works well. But when the government is in the process of changing laws to the benefit of individuals, you should explain to citizens why all those people have spent their time on preparing this legislation, how it works, and what is the end effect for citizens. And in times of social media, it is even more important, because what is the advantage of populists? They are always having like the easy solution to every problem.
Yes.
But if you are treating citizens seriously, but still you are taking time to explain to them what are you doing, then I can bet that they will understand how the system works, and in consequence it will pay off to Democrats.
So we've agreed, it's the language, it's the message, it's a clear, simple message that people can relate to.
But also, I would add, attachment to traditional values connected with democracy. Just look, we have just 80th anniversary of United Nations Charter. Mm-hmm. Okay, we can treat it as just as a historical moment. Some kind of a charter. UN has appeared on the international scene. Pupils learn it from handbooks. But you can also tell a story. Okay, but how world has transformed throughout those years? Why is it so important that we are having a Security Council that may intervene when Poland is subject of those drone invasion? Mm-hmm. Or when, of course, we know well the UN has many failures. We know that even some recent situations could be described as a failure of the United Nations. But still, we do not have any other institution, and we should still be proud that there were so many years thanks to during which the United Nations has played an important role for the world history. So, and why at the same time the whole concept of human rights has been adopted, and what was the consequence of the existence of human rights for changing lives of people here in Poland, but throughout whole Europe.
Let me ask you another question. How important is the messenger, the person who conveys that message? And I ask this in a time when the moral authority, or any kind of authority, not only of politicians but also of experts, be they economists, be they medical doctors, is being seriously undermined. So who do you think are the new authorities that people will actually listen to?
I think we are living in this kind of a presumption that if you are talking about moral authority, it should be just one big person with big name, I don't know, some Nobel Prize laureate, some great writer, that is providing answer to all different questions. But it seems to me that those times are over. That moreover, sometimes we might have somebody who is really like a respectable figure on some issue.
So, for example, we could look in our own history and talk about John Paul II, who was...
exactly, but then, there might be, some other problems where this person was not reacting properly or even was mistaken. So, but I think that we should invest into we should take into account that especially young generation may take advantage of different people from different generations, providing them with advice how to go forward, what to do, but especially that those persons of moral integrity could be also kind of targeted depending on your specific interests and your level of, I would say, sensitivity regarding different subjects. In addition, I think it should be the role of the state to invest into science and into proper communication of what science means to regular people. For example, when we are talking about vaccination and anti-vaccine movements, of course we see also in such big countries like United States undermining of the role of science. But on the other hand, when we are talking about, let's say, dentists and our teeth, then somehow all of us are taking advantage of science. We are not going to some charlatans, we are going just to real medical doctors. So maybe sometimes using like some popular examples that are kind of finding their way to the mindset of regular people is important to pass the message.
Senator Bodnar, of course, there are no easy solutions, but I think we have had the opportunity to talk about some issues and not just complain about the fact that we are hopeless in the face of tides of populism. Again, I go back to your very pragmatic approach as a human rights ombudsman, and anybody who hasn't looked at the website of that institution could probably be well advised to do so. It has some excellent examples. Thank you very much for joining us today at TVP World.
Thank you very much for the conversation. Thank you very much.